Welcome back to the ABCs of ERP and Beyond, the podcast where we delve into the intricate world of enterprise resource planning systems and explore how they can revolutionize the way your business operates. My name is Peter Nicholson, and I am joined as ever with Nirav Shah, and today's episode is all about when do you need an ERP system. So whether you're a small startup or a growing enterprise, understanding the right time to implement or re-implement an ERP system can be a game changer for your business. So we'll discuss the telltale signs that your company might be ready for an ERP or just might be in need of now having an ERP. From the struggles of managing growing pains to needing to streamline operations and improve data integrity. So, as I've said, my esteemed co-host, as ever, Nirav Shah. How are you?
I'm good. Peter, how are you?
Not too bad. I apologise for my look. I have, a few hours ago, landed back from the land of fire and ice that is Iceland. So I have my winter beard on, as you can see. My hair's gone all fluffy from the nice water they have over there. And yeah, I'm rocking one of the traditional Icelandic jumpers.
There you go.
So
There you go. I like it. You look very warm and cozy there. Welcome back.
go ahead.
Welcome back. Did you actually go into that? They have this natural what do they call that? That water, the pool that's like warm,
Oh yes.
right?
Yep.
That's cool.
Yes, we did. We actually did that the first night we got
Oh,
there.
you did.
So
Okay.
after a long day of traveling, what better way than to go into a naturally heated lagoon?
Lagoon. Yeah, that's right.
Uh,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah. It
I
was
I,
cool.
I want to do that. That's on my bucket list. To get in there, and it's made off of like volcano lava, right? That's like dried up or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, so it's geothermally
Yeah.
heated. Um, but the crust is so thin, and there's so much volcanic activity on Iceland. When you go to these lagoons, they have to actually actively cool down the water.
Oh.
It comes out of the ground far too hot,
Oh.
and they have to cool it down for you to then be able to get into it. So,
Wow. That's
well worth
that's
the
pretty
trip.
cool. Is there lights there like in this lagoon, or is this all natural? Because there's that other thing that luminous blue lagoons where or lagoon where you go in there and like it starts turning blue, like there's little particles that start turning blue everywhere. Um, was it something like that, or was it just like a heated
Yeah,
heated lagoon?
no, it's just a heated lagoon.
Cool,
Heated lagoon.
cool.
We were there, so sunsets at about 3:45, 4 o'clock, something like that over there. So we got in at about three, half three. So we were in there for sunset, which was really
That is
cool.
cool.
So we got to see what it was like in kind of the
Yeah.
twilight. You don't get full sunshine at this point of the year, but it's kind of like a twilight
Okay.
setting. The golden hour,
The
as
golden
photographers
hour.
would call it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then into the
Nice
nighttime.
with your
But
nice pint of Guinness and just hanging out in the lagoon.
oh man, it is expensive over
Yeah.
there. That's the only thing. You can't easily get drunk in Iceland. You're gonna run out of money before you get drunk.
That's why they invented the flask, my friend. So so you could take that around everywhere you go. Well, hey man, welcome back and 2024. I think our one of our first shoots here. Excited about this year and a lot of the topics that we have kind of slated to go over. This one is a good one. I think it's actually fits perfectly in the beginning of the year. A lot of companies are probably thinking about this, right? As they're coming up for 2023. When do I need an ERP system? Right? They're kind of past the initial milestones they set for themselves as a business, and now they're seeing, hey, if they don't change the way they structure um, their main business solution properly, that it could potentially, right, take them backwards, or create more confusion, or a whole all sorts of issues essentially. So this is a fun episode, a very going to be a very informative episode in my opinion. on when do I need an ERP system? A common question that people ask. First of all, let's start with what an ERP system is real quick. When do I need an enterprise resource planning system? And that's essentially a business management system that's fully integrated through your organization. It's where orders come in. It's um, planned out. There's inventory that's requested. You fulfill that order. Financially, it hits all the journal entries that needs to happen, and then you ship an invoice, and you get all this analytics and data out of it, right? Everything happens under a single system. Essentially, it's a business system. Everyone is working with the same data, which is your single source of truth, right? They call that. So you're not dealing with multiple systems. So that's really what an ERP system is in a nutshell. And today we're going to go through is when do you need it, right? When's the right time to start investigating what the right solution choice is.
This is a great way to start off the year. This is obviously now season two
Season two.
of the ABCs of ERP and beyond, and we've done so many episodes. We've banged on about inventory control and don't use Excel, and better control your processes, and how particular models happen in Acumatica and all this. And we've never really stopped and went, hang on, how do I know if I need this? How do I know when my business could really
Yeah,
benefit from an ERP?
yeah,
Like we bang on about the advantages,
yeah.
but um, we never really talked about the indicators of when it's time to start
Right,
thinking ERP.
right, right. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this is going to be spread over two episodes. The first episode is us running through some symptoms, maybe that you will invariably suffer from um, without an ERP. You might already be suffering from them, or it might be something that are growing pains and soon will become a problem. So we're going to run through some of those. Episode two is going to be around how you can then kind of justify it to the business, really, to the executives of why, and all around the change management of doing so, really. So let's go through some of the top ones. I know we've got a list here, but I think point number one is probably the biggest reason, and that's just outgrowing your current system,
Yeah,
whether that be a system as a piece of software or whether it be a system as in a set of processes. It could be either. And it's just outgrowing that and realizing it's time that your current system is not supporting today's business.
yeah, for sure. I think that is number one. At least on my list. It's you've come to a point, worked so hard, built the business on probably a lot of tribal knowledge, blood, sweat, and tears. You frantically bought QuickBooks because you realized you had to invoice the customer, and you had to send the invoice out tomorrow, and you forgot you had to do that, and now you ran QuickBooks for a while, and it helped you kind of manage a little inventory and let you be really flexible in terms of deleting invoices, bringing back invoices, and all that, and then you just threw a bunch of stuff at your accountant, and he figured it out, and you're able to file your taxes, right? And that worked for a while because there's only one or two people that was helping you, and you're able to get it to maybe a couple million growth, which is fantastic, right? That process works. That's pure grit. You're determined to get this business off the ground and really have it run, and save money wherever you can. So you did a lot of things by hand. You did a lot of things by a few things in QuickBooks. You leaned on your accountant a little more, right? Whatever it is, you just got to get the product in the door, out the door, to your customer's hand on time so they pay your invoice. So you got through that first hurdle, and fantastic. And now you're in year two, you're in year three. You see this linear growth of your business, 20% year over year, probably, and now you're hiring a few extra people. Like you're like, okay, you know what? I can't be doing all the planning. Let me hire a purchasing agent because they could just do my purchase orders for things that sales are coming in. Now you hired maybe a couple extra salespeople. They're gonna go out and they're gonna start selling, and you realize, wait a minute, I need to streamline some of those orders that are coming in. put them into a single system so I could see them and see what's happening to it. Maybe adjust pricing, right? Kind of keep a pulse on what everybody's doing now, because it's not just you or one other person. Now you have four people, now you have five people as the business is growing, right? And doing things by just constantly putting band-aids on data and in QuickBooks and stuff becomes a lot more difficult because you just don't know what the intention of that specific transaction, especially if you're not the one that's handling it from beginning to end. Somebody else is handling it, and now you have to kind of make all these assumptions on how do I correct this? What should this entry be? What should I be invoicing the customer, right? And you're just as an owner or as like an accountant or somebody, you're just constantly involved, and every piece of you're constantly involved. You can't get your day-to-day job done, right? That to me is, hey, we're outgrowing this. We're outgrowing QuickBooks. We're outgrowing our whatever current system we have because you're getting into the middle of every single transaction, every single sale, every single shipment, double checking every single invoice, all that type of stuff. Where in this day and age, right, that's just so much more work than you should be really doing, right? So that means that you're more in the business than on the business, right? It's where you can't step away and say, that the business is going to kind of run on its own because you have some processes and you have a good system to support everybody, right? It's you supporting everybody because you're in the middle of everything and you're the only one that knows how to handle these different situations. So, that's where you need to kind of start looking at. I need another system where I could get more people involved, but I could control the process that they need to do without me doing that. And then you could at a high level just kind of oversee what everyone is doing in a single system because in an ERP system or a business management system, whatever is done up front, let's say on the sales order side, is going to impact what's going to be seen in inventory. It's going to impact what happens in shipping. It's going to impact what happens in finance, right? So you could really quickly get to the root cause because there's going to be, if there's someone puts in an order incorrectly or puts in a bad due date and you're late to a customer, you could kind of triage that and do a post-mortem and say, hey, Mr. Salesperson, you saw that we didn't have enough inventory and our lead time is 5 weeks. It's in the system. You put a wrong date on here. Our order was late to a customer. Please make sure you look at these 4 or 5 things because it's already in the system. It's a single source of truth for us. So we get, we're delivering to our customers a little better. So yeah, business growth is huge. I think if you neglect to understand that you're going through a growth and you keep the same systems, that growth is going to fizzle out. I think very quickly. I think you won't be able to put your foot on the gas and keep higher when you need to and have everybody stay within the same um, boundaries, if you will, in how you control your data.
It's one of those things that sometimes can be forgotten about when you're growing. You think, well, first of all, I need to hire more staff. I need to hire maybe now you need to grow into a warehouse because you've got a lot more inventory and WIP now. Uh, you kind of forget about the technological infrastructure that's needed to support this. It's going to quickly outgrow that one person who has all the tribal knowledge. Um, and soon they'll become the bottleneck. And that is going to be another um, barrier of growth if there's not that technological infrastructure underneath that allows anyone to come in, get onboarded, and already know the processes that the business goes by to be able to actually transact with their customers.
Absolutely, I agree with that because as your team gets bigger, some of those team members are probably used to being on an ERP system or working in an integrated solution, right? And now not being on one can make them less productive at the end of the day. So you kind of have to kind of catch wind of that pretty quickly, um, so so people could work in their own space, right? And kind of understand what the business is doing overall when on an ERP system. Because ultimately, what you're doing is standardizing the processes. You don't have one person, a salesperson, putting in an order a certain way that's constantly wrong, and you have somebody else putting another order in the right way, and you're always stuck fixing the first guy's order, right? You could create how these orders are going in, right? What are the exceptions to the rule? Um, how do you service customers better? How do you make sure inventory is allocated to the right customers at the right times, right? If there's an issue with shipping, who should the shipping people call at the end of the day, right? Or if there's an issue during purchasing, who should the purchasing person call at the end of the day to make sure that their issue is resolved? So that all that stuff is very important when you have a streamlined process like an ERP system that just helps everyone kind of get to the data they're looking for and move on with their day, right? And I always say this, and I probably said this, you know, multiple times already in season one. The best implemented systems out there are the ones where it's invisible to the process, or you're entering data organically because it makes sense to track it. What you're tracking and what you're putting in is the decisions, and the data that you're going to get out of it is going to be the decisions you're going to make for the business ultimately continue to grow. So it's just
Mm.
organic at the end of the day in what you're putting in, because you putting in that data over time, you're going to collect it and you're going to make better decisions on how the business should behave or operate or purchase, or you know what markets you should get into, stuff like that down the road.
Point number two, I think I'm going to do these in a slightly different order because I think this next one is pretty much linked to that. Taking a step back from that growth is when you're starting up, you probably don't have a system, and you might start off using just Outlook, and maybe Excel or Word for creating invoices, or Excel for tracking inventory, um, Outlook for your CRM. So you probably are starting off from that, and that's no bad thing. Like that's
Right,
fine for when you're
right.
starting, but that's only going to get you so far, isn't it? So, um, when you're questioning, saying, "Well, when do I need to think about getting an ERP system?" Well, it's when you realize you just don't have a system.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes, right, um, you realize a little too late that oh man, I don't have a system because nobody in the company could do their job properly, right? That's a scary position to be in. But at the same time, it's not the end all be all, right? As soon as you understand, like, we don't have a system. Yeah, we've been running an Excel, we've been running emails only, and that's not ideal to create a high performing team in your organization. That you need a more robust, integrated solution out there to help take the business to overdrive is absolutely another reason, right? You need to go ahead and think about an ERP system that makes sense best in your industry, because those manual processes like Excel and email, we talked about this. I forgot which episode we said. 80 was it 88% or 80% of Excel spreadsheets have errors in them.
Hmm.
And as users, you know, as that Excel spreadsheet continues to get handed down, right, from one user to another user, as there's just some turnover and whatnot, that error this just keeps getting missed, and there's people are just so used to it and they get so comfortable, and it's just harming the business at the end of the day. Versus an ERP system, if the data is collected correctly, you have the right processes to support the people's job responsibilities, right? A lot of those algorithms, a lot of those calculations that you're doing in Excel is already in the ERP. Um, that's going to help you, with any type of analytics that you need around that. Not having a system is very, very scary, right? And I think we started off saying business growth, and you're coming off of QuickBooks, and we talked about that often. But yeah, like you said, just be on an Excel and Outlook, and now you're growing a team. I don't think it's going to be, you know, you can't get the proper buy-ins, you can't get the proper collaboration if you're not on a single system, a unified system, a business system for your company.
If this isn't in an ERP and you're using a CRM module, there's a certain level of upkeep that you have to do to make sure that data is still current. But it's a lot better than having people randomly search their sent items to try and find some contact email address for a customer.
Yeah,
Like it's got to be better than that,
yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely. And then you have, somebody that has misspelled a name like three times, so that same contact exists like three, four different places. And how
Hmm.
do you make heads or tails of that, right? And especially if you do a lot of volume of business with that person or that contact. But yeah, you're right. It's um, you know if you don't have the right system in place for to support your data, to support your growth, it just becomes an uphill battle. Every decision, every conversation requires so much research and investigation just to have an accurate and reliable conversation around, what is happening in the business.
Point number three. Here's another reason for looking to move on to a new ERP, and it's your current system might be being sunsetted soon or deprecated in the near future. We've seen some big names happen recently with this. So, have we got a few examples here?
We do. Yeah, we'll go way back, right? I'll talk about SL Solomon, right? Solomon was a big product back in the day, and Microsoft was kind of, holding the rights to it for a long time, and then they decided, hey, we're gonna sell this, and we no longer want to, manage Solomon anymore. So, a lot of companies that had Solomon had to move away and get into another system, right? ERP systems. And here's the best thing about ERP systems. It's like technology, right? And maybe not so much now in the cloud, but before, when you're on perpetual licensing and you're on premise, where you didn't get the benefit of automatic upgrades, right? You were on a version, maybe an ERP, but then the company decided we're no longer going to upgrade again for maybe another 4 versions. So all that new functionality, you paid for the enhancement, and you decided I didn't want to upgrade anymore. So you never got the benefit of that, right? You kept running the same process. I'm a firm believer businesses are constantly evolving. They're always changing, whether you believe it or not. What you're doing today, right, or this year, it's going to be a little different than what you're going to do next year, right? Because you're going to know more about your business. You may have other people come into your business. Some of your processes might change. You're going to buy new equipment, right? Your customers are going to demand other things from you, right? You have different relationships with your vendors. All these different variables happen, right, at the end of the day. So to stay on one system and not having the chance to take advantage of new functionality comes in is scary. So, like, when SL Solomon got sunsetted, right? That was a great opportunity for companies to say, well, what else is out there now, right? That we could jump into. And then customers really realized really quickly, like, wow, there's like all this new functionality that we never thought we would ever get, but it's actually available in the marketplace. So they'll jump into a product like Acumatica, right? Or they'll jump into another product or whatever that is. But when a system is being sunsetted, that's another reason, like, don't stay on that, right? You can, the publisher's not going to kick you off. They still want to, that residual revenue for them for that perpetual licensing. But that should be your idea that, oh, the publisher's not going to invest in this anymore. They're not going to roll out hot fixes. They're not going to roll out new functionality as industry is changing, right? With the whole cloud now, SaaS solutions with ERP, Microsoft, for example, comes out with 2 upgrades a year. One's October, one's in April, and same thing with Acumatica. And that's market research that they use based on feedback from other users, other customers, to introduce new functionality into the system. So customers that are on the cloud using ERP systems are on the latest and greatest version all the time. It's an automatic upgrade generally. So if they come out with a better streamlined dropship process, well, you get access to that right away, and you get to use it, right? Because maybe they're understanding that, hey, drop shippers, need to do X, Y, and Z, so we're going to include that new functionality in there. So right, think about that, right? If your system is being sunsetted, don't just stay on it. Move away from it. Move into a better, more modern solution. Another example is like those customers that are on premise, like, but there's also a SaaS solution potentially, right? Like Dynamics NAV, for example, which is now rebranded to Business Central. But NAV, Business Central's predecessor, the last supported version was NAV 2018, essentially. After that, Microsoft came out and said that we're no longer going to support that anymore, right? If you want the Microsoft product and you want the continued support and hot fixes and stuff, you need to get onto Business Central. Not to mention, a lot of these publishers will provide really deep discounts to move user licenses from on-premise to cloud. So Microsoft, for example, will give a 1, 2, 3 uh, license discount. What that means is for every one on-premise license, you get 3 cloud licenses, essentially, as part of what they call the bridge to the cloud offer for customers that want to move to the cloud coming off of on-premise system. So there's all these offers out there as well, for different products that are being sunsetted to promote and encourage these customers to jump on a more cloud solution ERP product.
Here's an interesting idea as well. Think of these systems now being deprecated, and I'm sure there's going to be places where you have multiple systems that are being deprecated that can be solved with a single unified ERP system. You might have a customer service program, you might have um, financial program, you might have a warehousing or logistics program like ship it or whatever it happens to
Right.
be, um, and you're having to manage all of these as separate siloed processes. And as they age, they might not necessarily um, be useful in today's world, or might become out of support, especially if it's on prem and you need to rebuy the latest version. Like you could be in a position where you could be having all the traffic lights turn red on your business in terms of the technology underneath it, where systems that you're relying on are all one by one being switched off in terms of support. And a unified cloud-based ERP system will, well, one, you get all of those different parts of your business in one system, unified system, and two, they will work much better together because they are all within one system. And three, well, if it's cloud based, then yeah, you get those updates as you said, Nirav.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Because these systems are getting smarter every day, and they're designed to promote efficiency and automation. So as a business owner, right, it almost makes no sense not to get onto one of these modern platforms, essentially, because it's going to give you more information about your business that maybe you didn't have access to before or didn't know how to get to. Now it's just so much easier. So sunsetting, with a lot of products that can't keep up or can't convert to the cloud, a lot of those are being sunsetted. And if they're not, I would strongly reconsider the choice of system that you're currently using if there's no cloud product around it. With the advent of AI and stuff like that, and the integration of AI everywhere, including ERP, right? And if you're on premise, you can't take advantage of that as you would, on a on premise on SaaS product essentially.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that reminds me of another episode that we should schedule up at some point, is the way that some of these big companies are going after this new modern world of AI. I saw an article recently that was kind of complaining at the way that Microsoft were doing it with now selling you all of the additional
Mm,
features. So they'll give you a core product, and then you've got umpteen different things that you need to buy.
okay.
We need to discuss that
Yeah.
because that's an interesting point. Like they'll show you the latest and greatest of Copilot, but then say, "Oh, that's an extra
Yeah.
fee." Like, "Oh, you want that in Teams as well? Well,
It's gonna
it's
be a
$30 per
fee.
user per month." You know,
Well, they got to pay off
so
that six
they
billion
took.
dollar what was that $8 billion open AI thing
Yeah,
that they bought, right?
I know they removed the original minimum 300
Something like
users
that. Yeah,
requirement,
yeah.
and now you can just have one
You can just
user.
have one user.
But
Yeah,
it's going to add up
it
so
is.
quick, isn't
It
it?
is.
And it's like who gets those features?
Yeah, exactly. Who gets them? Exactly, because everyone kind of needs it, right? In
Mm,
one shape or another. But it's all going to depend on module. Like Business Central, for example, is rolling out AI only in finance, I think, right now, where you can do a bank rec using Copilot. But you're right. I mean, I think it's an initiative for the whole company generally. But I did see that. I did see that there was a new SKU out on the Microsoft side to purchase Copilot. So
Yep.
yeah. So another.
Just waiting for my
Yeah.
license. That's all
So I
I'm saying.
wonder if does that does that include GTP ChatGTP 4 automatically, the data source, the data
Well, that's.
model?
I think that's what they based it on, haven't
Okay,
they? I think that's what Copilot is
based on
based on.
okay.
Is GPT
I
four
wonder if they had a free version.
underlying?
Yeah,
I think it's. Yeah, I don't really understand what Microsoft have done. I don't really know where their investment into OpenAI has got them
got it.
in terms of there's going to be some um, you know kind of financial gain in terms of shares and stuff like
Yeah,
that. But what have they actually bought? Have they bought OpenAI's services to create their own model, or what?
yeah. Well, I know
I don't really know what they bought.
yeah, I know from the ERP standpoint, what I recently learned with this new functionality that came out with the bank reconciliation is all the data that it gets from your bank rec, right? And that's sensitive information, right? The bank reconciliation process itself, that it doesn't become like available for general use. That data model is only for that instance. But then they just have Copilot running with the rules that you define and how it's mapping charges over to your general ledger and so on and so forth. So um, that was reassuring, right? Because it could kind of get a little scary if you're exposing your bank rec to everybody out there, right? It's like, do I want everybody to see my bank reconciliation type information? So, yeah, there's still a lot of questions around that on AI and the integration with ERP, but it's gonna be there and it's gonna come and it's gonna be more and more of it. And if you're in a system that's being sunsetted, you're not gonna be able to take advantage of that essentially. So
Mm.
it's important to understand that now. Technology is moving at a faster rate than ever before. Oh my gosh, ever before. Um, I'm going to Acumatica Summit here in a few weeks, and we're talking about all sorts of new automations and functionality that's coming out, and it's just like, wow, it's mind blowing on how much easier they're making just day-to-day work happen for users. It really is. And to take advantage of it, you have to have a mind switch that you want to be able to, you know, take your company to the next level and not keep it where it is, right?
Yeah.
QuickBooks is another example. QuickBooks Desktop is supposed to be discontinued here in May of 2025, I believe, something along those lines. So, what do? Right at that point, you're used to running QuickBooks, right? But your business is kind of growing. Yeah, is it uncomfortable to switch systems? Sure, it's uncomfortable, right? But it was uncomfortable when you started a new business.
Is it
Yeah.
is it uncomfortable to put your hand up and admit that you should never have bought QuickBooks? Do you have the humility to be able to do
We should start a support group. So tell us your QuickBooks
QuickBooks
story. Yeah,
Anonymous.
tell us your QuickBooks story, sir, ma'am. But yeah, it's like one of those, right? Like yeah, you started it great. It served its purpose, but your business is growing, and QuickBooks themselves are telling you, we are not going to support you if you stay on this version anymore. So now you have this decision to make to say, do I go to QuickBooks Online, which I'm going to be stuck with the same problems that I have, where there's no data integrity. I have to be in charge. You have to be on top of everything. I have to interject myself to all the different transactions that are happening just to make sure it's clean. I have to give a bunch of all just crap to my accountant, and then he'll figure it out without me, kind of even remotely approving that, yeah, all this stuff makes sense, right? Because things that come into QuickBooks sometimes don't make sense, right? You could have one-sided journal entries, your costs aren't accurate because they're not connected to inventory. You have all sorts of messes you could run yourself into, and it's like you have this decision to make the right decision, and let's get into a unified system. Let's get into a integrated solution where you're the data is organized correctly, you're standardizing processes for people, and you could rely on that information without having to
Yeah.
like kind of scratch your head and figure out whether this is the right thing or not.
Um, Customer service. And in fact, I'm just going to call it out. We've written down here pissed off customers or
Hmm.
employees. So this is a symptom, I guess, of not having this unified system, isn't
Yeah.
it? How do you keep track? How do you keep on top of your delivery performance to your customers? How do you keep on top of um, gaining trust across different departments in your business if you don't have a unified system? How do you actually build trust that the data can be relied upon?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a good indicator when your own employees are hollering every single day, our system sucks. We cannot get anything out of the system we need. Our month end close takes us like a month and a half, and we've never completed a year end close. And what the hell is a physical inventory? Like your employees are telling you this, and it's time to look for an ERP system, right? Because people sometimes are like really want to organize their life. They want a better solution so they could do their jobs better, right? They're not running around with their heads cut off like, oh my god, I have to close the books and I don't even know where to start, right? Like I don't even know how much inventory we use this month. Wow, right? I mean, like it's funny. I'm just start we're just starting this implementation with a customer just like that. I kid you not, their month end close takes them almost like 2.5 weeks into the next month. Yeah.
Wow.
The employees are at a point they're saying they're literally begging and saying we need a new system. We cannot go on anymore because they are frustrated and they're sad that they have to continue using the same processes and the same systems over and over again. And I had a very honest conversation with the owner of the company. He's like, "No, my employees are either going to quit or you know they're gonna just abandon the current processes and system that we have, and then we're gonna be in complete havoc, and we can't have that. We need a better system. We need to organize our company better." And the decision they made with was go with Business Central, and we're just going to kick off the implementation. But there's so much excitement in the air that everyone is willing and is ready for this change now. So, you got to listen to your employees. Your employees will tell you, where their pains are. And if it turns out that their pains are, that there's too many blind spots in the business, there's too much redundant double entry of information everywhere throughout the system, right? Double, triple entry. Uh, there's cash flow issues because you can't get to what you actually need to purchase for specific periods of time, or you can't collect on customer invoices on time, or customers are calling constantly because you're sending the deliveries late, right? There's no visibility of when things need to ship and when they need to ship by because inventory is bad and you don't have shipping integrated into your ERP, and it's just a headache. It's a nightmare. It really is a nightmare. People don't like to work like that. So that's another reason, another indicator to say I need an ERP system and I need one like right away. Um, Definitely consider that. That's one that I think sometimes gets brushed under the rug. People don't talk about, what do the employees feel or what customers might be kind of giving that feedback, right? Everyone's just always talking about, oh yeah, Excel or QuickBooks or, they're, doing things on their head or, sunsetted. But this is, I think, a big one. That listen to your users at the end of the day, because they'll also tell you, that they're ready for a change, a change in a good way.
And that kind of change that an ERP will give you, that's not just papering over the cracks. I know that you've referred to it before as a heart transplant. It's a major undertaking, and and therefore done successfully. It's a major improvement to a
Yeah,
business. It's not a new lick of
yeah,
paint on the
yeah.
walls. This is a big change. So, and we should probably talk about this in episode
Mm.
two. It's really easy to get excited in the first few weeks of an implementation, especially when you're asking certain departments. So you're kind of painting this picture of this major improvement project,
Yeah.
and the first few weeks is all around. discussing of pain points, evaluating the business needs. Like that's all the fun stuff. But we should really talk about this in the next episode where that starts to wane
Yeah.
maybe in the latter stages of implementation. How do you keep people motivated when you've got UAT
Yeah.
testing and you've got a load of data cleanup to do for data migration? Like, there's a lot of crap you have
You
to deal
do.
with. It's not all fun where you get to moan about the old way of doing
Yeah.
things and get excited about the
Right.
new way. You got to keep that momentum
You have
going.
to.
So we should probably talk about that in episode
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
Um, but you're right. Yeah, you should absolutely talk to your internal customers. I guess you could call them your
Exactly.
employees, just as much as your external customers when you're evaluating whether you do need to uh,
Yeah.
implement an ERP.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, because they have they want to just improve their lives better too, right? At the end of the day, and ERP system will help you streamline all that.
I think this next point we've maybe mentioned in a couple of these before, but it's a big enough issue to have it as a separate bullet point here, which is data integrity issues.
Yeah.
So, what do we mean by this when we're talking about indicators of whether you need an ERP or not?
Yeah, let's example of that, you're using Excel spreadsheet, and the sales team uses an Excel spreadsheet of the item numbers that they use, right? You have the purchasing team using an Excel spreadsheet of the item numbers that they use, right? Which could be the same, or as we know, right? There could be some mismatches, right? Um, there could be some difference in the number of items that are used in each file, and then you have you know shipping using another set of item numbers, right, in an Excel spreadsheet, right? There's no really single source of truth, right? So you're just constantly piecing together what is reasonable based on an estimate, right, of how much inventory we have or how much sales orders we should be expecting or is taken in already, or what is queued up to ship this week, right? Is it the right items queued up to ship this week, right? Stuff like that, right? If data is all over the place, right, and you're able to operate that way for some time and it's been okay, but as you grow and all the other reasons we mentioned already, right, you actually need data a little bit more centralized. You need to be able to say, when we put in an item number, we put it in one time, and everybody references this item the same way throughout the whole business. You put in a sales order, it's going to be that item. You put in a purchase order, it's going to be that item. It all references that same table. You go ship it, it references that same table, right? So then you could see, okay, well, these are how many orders we have. These are how many purchase orders we have out there for that item, and these are how many shipments we have scheduled for this week, right? It Will ERP help you maintain the data real time? Meaning, like, will it take, uh, will it have insight into your vendor's production floor and tell you exactly, hey, this vendor just bought a brand new machine, so he's able to get this to you 2 days faster? Probably not. You have to maintain that data. So, will there be a lag? Will there be some inaccuracy? Sure, there might be a little bit, but what it really will do, it will help you now all look at the same information at the same time. And it's not that you're looking at different sets of data, right? So you could call out any type of issues that you find with that single set of data instead of five different Excel spreadsheets. Essentially, is really the benefit there, is that it's helping you better organize your data across all the different departments by way of best industry practices that are built into the ERP system. So you're getting an ERP system off the shelf, but it has best practices for AR. It has best practices for AP. It has best practices for entering your items, bombs, routings, right? Customers, vendors, all that stuff, right? So you're looking at the same data instead of looking at all these different spreadsheets that don't really make sense, or are mapped all different ways, upside down, inside out, and you're trying to figure out when you do what, right? The system will help you with that, but you need to maintain it, right? Based on, you know, capabilities changing on vendors, right? Your capabilities changing to customers, your pricing changing, you know, what you're buying, what you're not buying, what your minimum orders are, stuff like that. You got to change that. That's day-to-day maintenance of any type of system. But you're looking at one set of data and you're not looking everywhere.
And I've just thought maybe there's a second part in here when we're talking about data is not just data integrity, but data
Hmm.
governance as well. Like the whole idea of having data all over the place, that's uncontrolled.
Right.
And you have a lot of opportunities for that data to get into the wrong
Yeah.
hands. All it takes is a salesperson to send an Excel spreadsheet, maybe it's a quotation, say, and they build their quotations off costs.
Right.
Well, what if those costs are on a hidden worksheet?
Right.
That's all it
Hmm.
takes. And then data governance has gone out the window. Your competitive edge has gone out the window. And not to say that this is could be a major data leak and cost the business dearly for
Yeah.
that. Other examples I can think of would be approval workflows. It's fine knowing that before I can send this off, I need to get you know say procurement to approve it on the costs
Yep.
or whatever
Yep.
by sending them the Excel thing in Outlook,
Yeah.
going back
Yeah.
to the old ways of
Yeah.
doing things. Like, it's fine knowing that, but one, that's tribal knowledge, and two, that's not really good documented
Right.
process for audits when you need to demonstrate good data
Right.
governance. Whereas if this is an approval workflow set up in an ERP system, well, one, it makes sure that it gets done because that quotation won't proceed any
Yeah.
further if we use that as an example. And two, there's a trail.
Hmm.
There's a documented trail to this, and it allows the rules to be set up and the processes to be followed naturally, rather than telling people, "No, you must go and do this first."
Yep.
The system will handle that for you. So, I guess there's two sides of things. This is a bigger bullet point than I first
Yeah.
thought of, from a governance point of view as well as integrity point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you talk about governance, right, is creating that rule-based system on how things should get updated, when they get updated, how it's audited, and stuff like that. Maybe we should just do an episode on that, right? And what tools are available in a few different SMB solutions, possibly Acumatica and Business Central, from data governance standpoint, right? But yeah, that's a huge criteria, is to make
Mm.
sure that there's that proper governing body to ensure, right? No one could just delete, all the items out of nowhere, right? Or make mass changes and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. I think that's absolutely one of the
Yeah.
benefits of the ERP.
Like being able to set up a lot more comprehensive user access levels, both in what's
Right.
viewable and
Sure.
editable. You can have these permissions on who can create things, who can delete things, who can modify
Yep.
things, or even who can view them in the
Right.
first place,
Right.
without having to try and resort to remembering not to send this piece of data to this team because they're not allowed it, or it's got sensitive information in
Right.
it. Um, all of that kind of can be set up in an ERP uh, in a lot finer detail. uh, you don't have to. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you have to.
Yeah.
You can have whole departments with access levels set up, but you have a lot more comprehensive set of permissions you can set up, which goes above and beyond anything that you'd be able to do in an Excel
Yeah.
worksheet.
Exactly.
Last but not least, external influences. So let's turn this around. So, what external influences could decide whether we should really be looking at an ERP?
Yeah, it's a lot of different ones. A few that kind of come to mind for me really is a bank. Let's say you have a loan on you have a line of credit, $1 million line of credit, and it's collateralized on your inventory or your open AR receivables, right? The bank wants to know if that's actually legitimate, right? If you have a $1 million loan and you have 1.2 million in inventory. Well, Bank wants to know, well, is this actually made up 1.2 million of inventory? Do you actually have purchase receipts and purchase orders to back up that 1.2 million in inventory, right? Um, or if you're collateralizing on open AR, right? The bank wants to know, well, okay, did you just magically create this journal entry to show that you have 1.2 million in accounts receivable, or
Yeah.
did you actually have sales orders that you fulfilled to customers with customer names, customer contacts that they could reference and call up and say, hey, Mr. Customer, we just want to verify that you do have this receivable on your books for $150,000, right? It's auditable at the end of the day, right? And if somebody is trying to do something outside the system, their name is going to be attached to that particular transaction. Another one just recent I'm kind of working through with a prospect is investors. A lot of startup companies, they go out and look for, VC money, venture capital money out there, and they try to do like their Series A funding or Series B funding. And before an investor will touch your business, unless it's really like a home run and it's common sense that it's going to go, you know, successful right out of the gate, they're going to most likely want to audit your books. They're going to audit like these numbers that you're reporting, is that actually accurate? Right? And this one company that I'm working with right now, they're talking to a few investors, and the few investors have already asked them, "Hey, how do we verify that your cost of sales number is accurate?" And they're asking me, they're like, it's so hard right now with QuickBooks because they have a QuickBooks system connected to a manufacturing software. Both of them don't really talk properly. So, they really don't have a good handle on what their cost of sales are at the end of the year. And they're running all these Excel spreadsheets and just manipulating number and trying to get everything to match up. But it takes them hours and hours and hours and hours to do that, right? And an investor that's coming in, right, they want clear data. They want to be able to follow the breadcrumb, where these dollars are coming from at the end of the day, and who's doing it, and how often you're doing it, what are the trends. So this one customer we're talking to, they understand the value of ERP because they need it, and they need it now, because of the funding that they're looking for from investors. But yeah, investors is another one. Is you need to have that clarity for them to take the risk on you, and be transparent with your books, be transparent with your process. An ERP system will get you there, and that's another reason why, at that point you say, okay, I need to get out of these manual processes or QuickBooks or Excel, and I need to look at an ERP system.
Good. I think we've covered quite a few really important points, and I hope some of these um, kind of spark something in someone. Maybe we've covered a critical sign that might indicate that it's time to implement an ERP system in someone's business out there. And well, remember, embracing an ERP solution, it can really be the catalyst for growth and efficiency, as we said at the start. Um, so if you've enjoyed today's episode, we have a huge back catalogue now. Now we're into year 2 of our podcast here. So make sure that you subscribe. We are in for the long haul. We have another year ahead of us. We have lots of
Mm-hmm.
topics that me and Nirav have sat down with last week, written them all out. So make sure that you check us out. It comes out every 2 weeks. Part 2 of this 2-part "When do I need an ERP system?" Topic will be coming out 2 weeks time after this one. So you'll only know if you are
Subscribe.
subscribed.
Ding,
Um,
ding, ding.
and hit the bell. Yeah, what are we supposed to say? Hit the
Hit the
bell,
bell.
like and
Like and
subscribe.
subscribe.
We need a Patreon page. We need, what else do we need? We need Starbucks to
Yeah, yeah,
invest in
yeah,
us. They haven't done
yeah.
that
I
yet.
know, I know.
Um, we need QuickBooks not to launch a libel against us. Um,
They
dear.
they probably can't because if I get the data all lost anyways.
Yeah, they'll just make it up, like you can in
Yeah,
journal
yeah,
entries.
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
Good as ever. It's been a brilliant episode.
Awesome.
Thank you once again,
Yeah, thank
Narav.
you.
And until next time, take care of
Will do.
yourself, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
Excellent. Take care, Peter.